welcome to the true finale of Castlemania, the tier list. I've been talking about this for quite a bit. I thought it'd be fun to go through, while I still have this controller in my hand, and rank every single Castlemania game that we played so far. And since we're through the first classic series, thought it made sense. I'm just looking at the capture picture. Everything's good. Tears of Vania, Castle, Bloody Tiers. I should have called this Bloody Tiers. In fact, I need to change my stream title. There, we're calling it Bloody Tiers, sort of ish. So, these little icons down here. I made these, kind of. I just took artwork from the games, and then put titles on them, little borders. I think they look pretty good. I think we should go ahead and start with Castlevania 1. I added the on-deck tier, obviously for like the ones that we're currently talking about. Also, if I need to change the music volume at all, let me know. But anyway, Castlevania 1. The original game, but honestly, it's very tightly designed. It's very brisk when you get good at it. There is like a bunch of things that feel like bullshit and kind of are bullshit, but they are things you can mitigate with enough practice. Soundtrack kicks ass. It may be short compared to the rest of the later games, but it did do a lot of things right for a first game. And a lot of games still call back to it in a significant way, so I'm going to call my shot. Castlevania 1 is an S tier. After this is done, I'm going to do another roundup in comparison, because things might change as I go. Like if I say, oh, but if I put this game here, this game can't be that. But anyway, moving on, Simon's Quest. This one's a little trickier. Because, like, it's a very confusing game. A lot of things just aren't that clear. Unless you, like, know some things beforehand. A lot of stuff feels like it's just missing. It does feel like it was rushed. But it has bloody tears. Yeah, bad translation. But, like, we can't just go by on soundtrack alone, because, like, you know, if we go by... If this game was going to be scored based on the soundtrack, it's S tier for every single one. Get the power! Nintendo power! This playlist has some Bloodstained stuff in it for some reason. I'm going to, like, skip it if it comes up. But it was, like, the best playlist I could find on a short notice because I just didn't bother to make my own playlist. Anyway. With the esoteric stuff, and the way it feels complete, but I think the actual adventure exploration aspect is a cool idea. I think the idea of, like, finding these dungeons and mansions to do stuff is a cool idea. But it wasn't fully realized. It wasn't given its full potential. It is very tough. I was edging between two tiers. Shut up. But I'm gonna put it in C. Because I think objectively, it just doesn't do enough to make it better than average. Which, to be fair, average is basically a compliment. Compared to what a lot of people call it. So we're leaving it in C. We'll reevaluate later if we need to, but we're going to leave it in C. And yeah, Drac being weak as hell. Dracula's Curse. This game kicks ass. It's Castlevania 1 on steroids. It has the partner system, the multiple pathways. It's really cool how it kind of tells that story too, because things will happen on the map screen that shows your progression. It's very tough. It's very tough. Again, the soundtrack kicks fucking ass. It's the best soundtrack of the 3 NES games, like, without question. The characters all have their unique skill sets, even if I think of Sypha is objectively the best one. It's very difficult. There are a couple screens in that game that are just downright evil, and I haven't even, like, I'm not fully familiar with the rest of the other levels, and I've heard there's some worse stuff going on down there. So, I think it's one of the best. It's one of the best in the series for sure. But, why did you not go to the next video? I know why I didn't. It's because that's weird. Put it on shuffle. Loop. Do I need loop playlists? Technology's weird, yo. Anyway. I just want to listen to some music while I do a tier list. Is that so hard? I'm going to turn the volume down on this a little bit. It does seem like it's creeping up just slightly. That's good. Castlevania 3. This is where we get to that position of, like, if Castlevania 1 is S, 3 should be S. Because 3 is like Castlevania 1, but better. But, however, the simplicity and straightforwardness is a strength for Castlevania 1. But sometimes Castlevania 3 can just feel like too much. Oh, and also, if you game over a Dracula, you don't return to the staircase. Fuck you. It's a tough call. We're gonna say for now, Castlevania 3 is a high A tier. That feels good for now. The Adventure. Discussion over. Okay, so let's actually get into depth here. No! There's not a single redeeming point in this game's favor. I guess Fireball Whip is cool, but it goes away with one hit. And the game just feels so trash that you can't even enjoy it. The soundtrack does kick ass. But it's so sluggish. Christopher is so slow. Is it the third stage? Yeah, the third stage is... No, I think the fourth stage is even worse. But it was at that point in the game where I was using save states anyway. The third stage is one of the worst levels in Castlevania history. Yeah, no sub-weapons. Like, people would be like, yeah, I'll go easy on it. It was when the Game Boy was new. You know, Mario Land was weird, but it played so much better. Like, no, I'm not giving that a pass. I don't care if it's old and good for its time. I don't even think it was good for its time. It's F. It is an F tier. There is no discussion. No more discussion to be had on this. Now, I remember which level was which, but that's because they stand out as really fucking bad, not good. Yeah, no. Terrible game. Its sequel, on the other hand, that is what you can do with a Game Boy Castlevania game. It plays much better. Hey, Left. Hope you're well. Music's still really good. Did any of the Game Boy games even have sub-weapons? I don't feel like I remember using any if they did, or much. It's still a shorter game. For the most part, it plays really well, pretty fairly. It takes most of the ideas from Adventure and makes them better. And I am glad that you are well. So for the Game Boy, yeah. Belmont's Revenge was pretty good. It comes down to the very last part of the game, which was not good. This is a good song. It was a sudden difficulty spike. The final boss, no, the final boss was mostly okay. The penultimate boss was, well, very least the final boss had its own stage. The penultimate boss came after the worst section in the game, most difficult and bad section of the game. So you had to replay that if you game overed. That was the cool thing about Belmont's Revenge, though, is that it had mid-stage checkpoints. Like, that is pretty nice of it. But, yeah, after getting to the worst part of the game, and then getting the most difficult boss in the game, and having to redo the worst part of the game to get back to that boss if you game over, that did harm it a lot, in my opinion. But I think it's gonna feel weird putting it on this tier. But I think Belmont's Revenge... Actually, now, we're going to call Belmont's Revenge for now a high B tier. I think it feels fair. As for Legends, my takeaway from having played this twice, all the Game Boy games twice, is that this is the most consistent. It's also the easiest. It's also kind of the least memorable. It has some weird stuff going on, like towards the end. The music, I don't even really remember the music. Like, the music was kind of like whatever as well. Sorry, just a key message was sent to me. Just curious. The overall the gameplay was just kind of mediocre. Wasn't a big fan of the story. I mean, that is weird to say. Like, I don't play Castlevania games with story. I guess it's less the story and more of, like, romantic implication. I wasn't a fan of the Alucard-Sony relationship. But, I don't know, maybe it's just me. Sony does deserve better, but I think I'm just going to put it right here in C tier. C tier is becoming, like, the average tier, and I think that's fitting. These games are both pretty average. Super Castlevania IV. So, it's negatives. Jesus Christ, I forgot how fucking good this was. Super Castlevania IV is a game that looks great. Sounds great, plays great. The negatives, for me, as I went over when I was playing it, it's the soundtrack. The soundtrack is like... You hear this? I'm looking for bangers. Catchy, melodic masterpieces that are like... that stick with you. Castlevania IV doesn't really have that. It has more of the low-key, melancholy, atmospheric shit, which... it's good. It's good for what it is, but it's not really what I want in a Castlevania game. As far as gameplay, Salmon feels good to control, fun to control, the whip dangling, the swinging. Level design is mostly solid. It is a bit easier for the most part in that regard until like you get to the last 3 or so levels, where things really ramp up, and some of it unfairly or annoyingly. It can hamper the experience, but up until that point, it's a really good experience. Like, even with my opinion on the music aside, the atmosphere and gameplay leading up towards the end of the game, it's fantastic. So, I feel good with putting it down here, maybe a slightly lower A tier position. And like I've said it before, I do like Dracula's Curse more than Super Castlevania IV, and that's bearing in mind that some of the worst screens of the game exist in Dracula's Curse, but I feel like CB3 has more going for it on the overall. Controversial as that might be to say. Speaking of controversial, let's go to the better 16-bit game from the franchise. I've been into a secret. Bloodlines is one of my favorite games. It's my favorite Classicmania. My third favorite overall, so like you already know where this is going to go. Having the two different characters, even if they're separate campaigns, playing through the same stages, it's nice to have that choice, at least. It's cool to see alternate pathways you can take, depending on what character you have. It feels great. Like, it feels fast-paced. Even if it is, after Castlevania IV, it goes back to the more stiffer style of gameplay. It still feels like it moves fast. It's got a lot of action. The soundtrack kicks ass. It's the first soundtrack that Michiru Yamane worked on, who is really good with that music thingy. There are parts of it that are frustrating. Level 5 especially. But it has gear, buddy. I don't know. Like, I'm giving it the S tier. Like y'all predicted I would give it the S tier. And I'm noticing already the pattern with the Classicvanias is my favorite Classicvanias are the ones that are not as long, but are just so fun to play and have just such tight pacing. Like, I don't know, maybe that's my favorite kind of game when I think about it. It's not. I like all kinds of different games. But what can I say? Besides, I like Baja Blast. Dracula X. To be clear, I'm doing all these in the order that I played them across Castlemania. Not release order or anything. That's why we did the Game Boy games in order. That's why we're doing Dracula X before Rondo. But anyway. Dracula X is technically impressive. It looks really good. It sounds really good. It doesn't play very good. It doesn't feel like Rondo, either in physics or in game design. It takes the linear approach, although you can get alternate stages, I'm pretty sure. You can save Maria, but it's more difficult and you can't play as her. I think it doesn't change much just by the ending. It is unnecessarily difficult in parts. It is designed, it feels like, this is something I take from Jump Call Me Sonny, some call me Johnny's review of it. It feels like it was built for a more mobile Simon like Castlevania IV, but they gave him the old school, i.e. Rondo, style controls and just doesn't mesh well. Again, it looks great. It sounds great. It doesn't play great. It is a butchered version of a better game that, by all rights, it could have been much better. Like, I feel like what they had going for it, they could have done something good with what they had. I'm gonna do something I meant to do earlier, which was layout. So this other fine? Yeah, that's fine. Anyway, so I think ultimately, with all those problems in mind and the fact that they could have built a more faithful Rondo, I feel like, with the Super Nintendo technology. It would have been inferior. Don't get me wrong, it would have been inferior. But they could have made a more faithful version. It would have been passable. It could have been one of the best Castlevanias from a nostalgic standpoint until they got their hands on the real Rondo. But they did something completely different and not very good. I'm going with D tier in this one. I could have gone F tier, but like, let's be real. F tier was made for one specific game. Rondo of Blood. So there's a lot to like with Rondo of Blood. Thing with a net. I don't remember anything specific in Dracula X. The thing with Rondo of Blood is, it is one of the fan favorite games. It is, don't get me wrong, it's so much better than Dracula X. Now for me, that's not Dracula X, that's Dracula X Chronicles. Unless that does have it in Dracula X and I forgot. Now, I'm pretty sure it didn't happen in this NES game. Anyway. Rondo is a competently made game. I think the exploration and finding alternate exits and shit is its strongest element. It looks great. Lisa's great. Maria is a fantastic character. And she makes the game way more fun to play. It does feel like it can be... It does come off like it could feel like a little bit esoteric. When you get to, when it comes to hunting out all of the secret exits. And also the fact that you can't even unlock one of the alternate stages until you beat the game, which is weird. I generally like the cutscene art direction. I'm not a big fan of this Dracula design, but it's like little details and all that stuff. But I'm also... A lot of it just feels kind of boring to me, and then some of it feels kind of annoying. And that's not talking about alternate stage 5. Placing this is going to be hard. Because if I put it in one specific tier, I'll be like, well, I'm just putting it that high because it's what the game the fans like. But if I put it in another tier, I'm going to think, well, now I'm just being too harsh on it. It's very mixed. Like, there is a lot to love about the game. A lot of it does come from the details. The details, yeah, let's just call it the details. A lot of the details in the game are very fucking good. So it's like... I'm looking at what I have now. And I think with another game in the tier that it's currently in... Hey, speaking of Rondo. I'm going to go with... A. Because I do think these two games are of comparable quality. And if Castlevania IV is an A tier, I think Rondo is also A tier. Might be a little bit on the lower end of A tier, but we said that about Castlevania IV as well. So I think this works. I do think this works. Moving on. No, okay, but... There's no question. There is no question with Soden. Like, this was the game that ended Castlemania every year besides 2020 and this year. This is one of the first Castlevania games I played back in 2015, and I just fell in love with it. Speaking of details, this is one of the most beautiful fucking pixel art games ever made. And one of the best sounding. And, like, it just completely defined the genre. Like, you know, Metroid's great. I think Metroid did more of the heavy lifting for the genre than Soten. But Soten did something Metroid doesn't do, and that's the RPG elements and mechanics, all the equipment, the items, upgrades, relics. Well, I shouldn't say upgrades. Metroid does that. I'm not even sure what I was trying to say about upgrades. That was different from Metroid style, but it is basically a subgenre. It's a different appeal entirely from like Metroid stuff. So it gets a lot of credit for that. Of course, there's the cornball voice acting that we love. Unless you're playing the Requiem PSP version, in which case I'm so sorry for your loss. Well, no, stop it. It is, you know, all the equipment. There's just so much equipment with so much different shit you can do. And a bunch of different secrets. I like the way that you get into Second Castle. It does take a lot of piecing together yourself, and it is slightly mistranslated with the rings saying clock tower instead of like clock room. So that is a bit of a small flaw, but it's more of a translation error than anything else. YouTube? YouTube's bugging out. Yeah. Okay, you know, I've said it before. Dracula's voice actor, unironically, love him as well. Like, he's hamming it up and having a great time with it. He's perfect. There are, like, hitches. Like, once you figure out all the best stuff, the game does crumble apart and becomes very easy. If you're trying to map out everything, it's very finicky in some of the spots on the map. People are very mixed about the inverted castle. I can understand. You're basically just going through the same place again. Yeah, the second base is terrible, I'm not gonna lie there. My thing is, I think the game is so good, I don't care. I get to play more of it. So... I have nothing but good things to say about this game. Nothing but praise for this game. There's nothing else I can say. Like, it's an S tier game. S stands for Symphony of the Night. It's the best game in the series, in my opinion. Okay, so... enough of that. Circle of the Moon. Okay, here... I'm putting the S tier games... Maybe I'll rearrange it later. In the games, each tier, I'm just putting it in the order of where they go, not... their order list. It's more of the tiers the games belong in, not like ordering them within each tier. Because I know some people do that, I've never done that. It's my appeal. The appeal with a tier list to me is that you don't have to order them. You just put them in a tier and be like, yeah, this is where they stand overall. I like that better. This is a 30-minute loop. Who put this in the playlist? Moving on. Let me refresh it so it fixes itself. Oh, hell yeah. Circle the Moon! Sucks. Like... okay. Let's just start with the fact that you need an upgrade to move faster than the fucking tiptoe. And you have to double tap anytime you want to go faster than the tiptoe all the time. Like, yeah, I know Kirby does that. Kirby's good. Circle of the Moon is not. Shupkins, how you doing? Happy Halloween to you as well. So, with that alone, I feel like I shouldn't need to go any further, but let's just keep going. Yeah, the soundtrack's good. I'll give it that. The soundtrack's good. It's not one of my favorites, but it's good. And I don't like its version of Clockwork. I think the Castlevania 3 one's way better, but other than that... no, I just can't summon much to say. Like, the castle's very bland. I can't even remember anything about the castle, and I played this game on stream. I played it at least 2 more times outside of stream. I think. Yeah, I think I played it twice before this stream, original stream. I remember liking it the first time enough. I think going back later and be like, no, I don't like this as much anymore, and then doing it on stream and solidifying my opinion. See, let's talk about the DSS card system. I think it's really cool. On paper. The idea of having all these different cards with different effects and combining them and finding all these power-ups and shit you can do. It's neat. Here's where the problem comes in. Is when most, if not all of them, I think it's all of them actually, are drops you had to get from grinding and killing enemies over and over and over again. If they were rewards for exploring the castle, I think that would be a lot better. Like, because as it stands, there's not a whole lot of reason to explore this castle. The occasional, like, equipment upgrade, and that's about it. Again, like, LOL, playing Castlevania for story, but the story sucks. Nathan Graves is the worst protagonist in this franchise. I fucking hate this stupid-ass kid. It looks nice. I can't really summon a lot of praise for this. It is also a hard game, and not in a good way. You get it Graves because it's spooky and mysterious skeletons. Like, yeah, I just can't do it. Like, I guess it's cool that the gravity jump is a simple button combo now, and not spamming a down-up jump. There are ways you could have made this game better. There is a better version of Circle of the Moon that exists somewhere. It's not in this timeline. Circle of the Moon, D tier. Army of Dissonance. The next GBA game, and actually made by the Soten team, who would take over from then on out until the Dark Days. But, I mean, he's even got discount a la carte here, I'm just saying. Army of Dissonance is okay. It was a little confusing at first, trying to figure out how to properly actually navigate the two castles. Back and forth. Yeah, there is that a bit. But, you know, it does have the forward and back dashing, which it's funny to forward dash everywhere. Story's mid, but again, guess what? The soundtrack is a weak point. Whoops. Simply hit my chord here, and it hit the space button. Soundtrack's kind of a weak point. This is Order of Ecclesia, Tragedy's Pulse. I know a lot of people say the compositions are fine. It's just the sound. It's just the sound font itself. I would have to actually be given a version of the soundtrack made with a different sound font or something to know for sure. I think Successor is Fate is a good song. There's another song I think is okay, but soundtrack's kind of mid. I think the game is fine. It's fine, but mid is correct. Well, that said, I'm going to put it on the lower end of B tier, because I still think it is a better experience than either Simon's Quest or Legends. I would say not as good as Belmont's Revenge, but it's more consistent, at the very least. Aria of Sorrow. Everything clicked here. Everything clicked here. It looks so much better. Soma is a cool protagonist. The story, it's goofy, but it's kind of a neat twist to story. And the soul system. The soul system kicks ass. It kicks so much ass they would keep comping over and over. In and outside the series. Having all these abilities you can just choose from and upgrade, and... Actually, I think upgrading came later, but... And I can just create these loadouts, and... There aren't many low points with this game. The biggest annoyance to me is having to swap back and forth between the two different water-based powers for navigation. And that's not even that bad. It has the clam snails, clam solace, cleave soulish, I believe that was how I was told to pronounce it. Great weapon. It has gun. It has some funny bonus weapons. The art style is great, the music is great. The castle flows together very well. It is so fun to navigate. Floating gardens are a little bit weird, but eventually you figure it out. More Order of Ecclesia, huh? I'm gonna let the Order of Ecclesia soundtrack have its day in the limelight because it didn't get to be in the actual part of the marathon. Actually, this is someone's remix, I think. Yeah, I don't want to do remixes because, not really having, the artist's permission, I suppose. I forgot how good Curse of Darkness' soundtrack was, even though the game itself was whatever. Anyway, Aria of Sorrow. It should be, no surprise. Aria of Sorrow is an S-tier game. And it is in very good company. Well, it's in very good company for the masses. I know they're a little bit more split on these two, but they're wrong. I think this is actually a good point for me to take a 2-second break because I need another drink. I'll be right back. I'm leaving the camera on. What am I doing? You can hear my every footstep. What the fuck? Oh no, not the fridge. Okay, with that in mind, the next game. Next game on deck. Dawn of Sorrow. It's direct sequel. Let's get it out of the way. Yeah, no, this art style is not as good as this art style. I know they try to like appeal to children more or something like that, and try to get sales better, but it's not the right call. It didn't work out. I don't know, maybe Dawn of Sorrow sold a little bit, I don't remember. I think this game's good. For the most part. But when you have a game that was a very tightly designed, decent pacing, never heard that before, and you make it like twice as long, and you slightly overcomplicate this whole crafting system, and you make a weird part of the game where you have to like grind souls just to advance the normal story and not even get the true ending. Soundtrack's really good. But like I said, it's Castlevania. You're talking about soundtrack, gonna be here all day. But it's harder for me to place this. It's like overall I think it does a really good job, but it is also maybe longer than it needs to be. Some of the navigation is a little bit more confusing. I'm still fairly fond of it, but like, it's like if in a vacuum I would think it's a lot better than it is, but we have Aria to compare it to. So I'm going to... I'm still going to say A tier for this. Lower end of A tier. Because I definitely think I prefer it to these two, but it does have... No. We're just going to say B tier. We're going to put it right in B tier. High end of B tier, but I think that's fairly fitting. I said the Julius mode. I kind of glanced over, like, maxing mode of Harmony Dissonance is stupid fun. Dawn of Sorrow Julius mode is really cool. Aria of Sorrow Julius mode is super fucking busted, but still really cool. So moving on. Portrait of Ruin. This game did some cool stuff of its own. It did not go back to the Soul system, and that was not a problem. I've really been talking about alternate character modes that way. But we can talk about the Soten one real quick. None of them matter, but it's cool to have the option. Richter's fun. Both Marias are alright. But Alucard is just the breakaway best character, and it's because the game was made for him with all the equipment and stuff. Yeah, it was cool. I did mention Maria being the best part of Rondo of Blood, but anyway. Portrait of Ruin. It's a fun game, like, and it has, like, the partner system, which was unique, really just to this game, never came back. We have two characters you can customize and have unique abilities, and the partner abilities, and... yeah. Also, of course, the portraits are a unique idea. It's a cool way to sort of have, like, Metroidvania hub world that still matters, and then you have the portals to the portraits to other unique worlds. A way to get, like, some different sort of aesthetic going, while still being inside the castle. It's very cool. Like, yeah, Portrait of Ruin does a lot of things right. It does have bonus modes in the game. I didn't spend enough of them to really form an opinion. I think the Sisters mode has a cool idea. It's cool having Richter and Maria, and old axe armor is just funny. But the main game is the main meat. It's like... it's pretty tasty. Again, no bloodstain. Like, why'd you put bloodstain to Castlevania? More bloodstain. More bloodstain. Is this on shuffle or not? It's not shuffle anymore. What are you doing? There we go. Now it's shuffled. Where the fuck? Okay. Oh, hey, man. I definitely say it's worth going back to. It's just really fun. The story's kind of whatever. And again, I'm not that big on the anime aesthetics. Maybe that's what drove you off it. At least it's slightly more stylized than what Dinosaur went with, but it's still like just kind of generic. Also, Jonathan, if you can stop fucking saying no problem, I can kick your fucking ass. I think this is A tier for me, but it's high A tier. The reason I put it A tier is I definitely do not hold it to the same standard as these four. Like, these four are just dependable to me, and then Portrait Ruin is just outside of that. It is very good, but there's definitely a cutoff for me, and that's why I put it in A and not an S. And I hope that's fair. And I'm also gonna open a second drink. Next game. Game we've been hearing so much music of. It's taunting me. It's like, go back to Portrait of Ruin, you idiot. I think he left. Order of Ecclesia. A game that almost made it into the marathon, but missed the cutoff. Better aesthetic, art-wise. It is a very difficult, challenging game, which is some people's taste, not necessarily to mine. It has an okay story. The glyph system is more or less a different version of the soul system. And yeah, Bloodstain was the other game I was talking about with having a soul system, but I think the glyphs are cool. I think Shinoa is really cool. Soundtrack is probably the best soundtrack of the 3D, the DS games. What really gets me with this game is the structure. I don't like the world map. I don't like the stage select feature. I think it is a poor attempt at trying to, I'm not gonna say poor. It is a sketchy attempt at trying to appeal to both the classic and the Metroidvania crowd. Especially when some of the stages are just a fucking straight line. And I think it's just kind of awkward going into a stage of level select from a different direction to go find more to do in another section of the level. And yeah, that it's also very difficult. Once you like start investing more into side quests and stuff, you can mitigate things more easily, but it's tough because there are high points in the game. The Dracula fight is one of the maybe the best Dracula fight in the series. I think I mentioned that during the CB1 playthrough just today, actually. Some of the combat can be really fun. I definitely do not think the glyphs are as versatile as the souls, but I think they're a cool feature. The challenge can feel like a bit much at times. I'm trying to figure out what else to say about this. Its alternate character mode's pretty cool. Probably better done on an actual DM. Well, maybe. I guess I don't have that many hang-ups other than what I've already said. Because there are some good aesthetics in this game. There are some memorable enemy quotes, like the Spider Lady. Looks delicious. It's a good game. Placing it is difficult. I definitely think of the 3DS games, it is in the middle. Spoiler alert, Bloodstained would be S tier if it was on this list. No, Curse of the Moon and Ritual of the Night. Curse of the Moon 2 would probably be like A or D. Anyway, I think I'm going to B tier it. I think. This is difficult. Because I'm kind of like... I don't like it as much as Portrait of Ruin. And I'm not sure if I like it as much or more than CB4 and Rondo of Blood. I think I want to leave it in B tier. No. Legacy of Darkness. Wow, here we go. The worst Castlemania year. Oh, man. Yeah, no. I feel like an attempt was made. I feel like, you know, it's still the early awkward 3D phase. This came out after Soten. This was the team trying to make it 3D. I feel like they tried. There's some confusing stuff. There's some tedious stuff, some outright bad stuff. It's not the best to control. But it gave us Knight with Gun. So I'm kind of completely ignoring Castlevania 64, and also because it was kind of combined into this game later anyway. It's awkward, it's weird. It's an early 3D game. What do you... Like, I feel that way about a lot of early 3D games. Some got off better than others. Like, I talk about how the Ocarina of Time has aged, but no, Ocarina of Time definitely holds up better than Legacy of Darkness. Yeah, Henry's funny. The plot's whatever. I still feel weird whenever I even bring up the plot, because again, like, maybe I should just not talk about it unless the plot is like actually good, which, you know, spoiler alert. It's never really that good in these games. It's usually the best it gets is fine. But the story is either fine, bad, or doesn't exist. Anyway, I still think about the clock tower level, though. You know, at least within context of that game, the clock tower level was very well designed. Early on, it shows you your goal. And now you have to work around the stage to obtain that goal, get back, and move on. And I think the clock tower might have been... No, never mind. That level was the one that had the really good song. But... there are moments where you can see what they were trying to do with the game. Sometimes those moments work really well. Other times, most of the times, you should just kind of be done. Also, the fucking hedge maze in every campaign. The thing fucking sucks. But I'm not gonna be as harsh as I otherwise could be. And again, you know, Henry exists. That's a huge part of it. Legacy of Darkness gets the C tier treatment, I think. Because at the end of the day, I think the best I could say is it's average. It is an average 64 game. It is fine. There's a lot of deja vu happening. Lament of Innocence. The voice acting is good. Yeah, the voice acting is good. The music is good. It's not Castlevania. It is a hack and slash. It is repetitive. I think I remember the bosses being pretty alright. Like, it's a lot of repeating hallways, a lot of kill all enemies to progress rooms. This isn't Zelda. A lot of stuff I just don't care for and rather just get along. The fixed camera is a pain in the ass half the time. I get turned around so often because of how it presents the camera when you go through a door. It is repetitive. It is competent, but it is repetitive. I feel like I can't say much more than that. Like, it's just get used to this. It's going in C tier. Because I can't muster any strong feelings about it either one way or the other. Yeah, the woman got turned into the whip. How do you like that? Curse of Darkness. It did better. It fared better than Lament of Innocence, I think. For one, the free camera. For another, it had a little bit more focus on exploration than just straight combat. But also... no, skip this. I might actually get content I need on that, because that's like a recreation of the Netflix Bloody Tiers. Anyway. Also, the game... I think I said this on stream too. When the game should have ended, it pulled out like another hour or so of gameplay. The Dracula's castle. I just wanted to be over at that point. Trevor mode, I did Trevor mode a little bit and I already forget how it went, if I'm honest, but... Yeah, the plot is... Stop talking about the plot unless it's good or bad, but... It does feel a little bit tedious. I think when you get into like the golem crafting system, there's a bit of an appeal to that. So I think that makes it stronger. I think these things make it stronger than Lament of Innocence. Mechanically, I would say stronger than Legacy of Darkness, but it's not as memorable. Contract's banging, but like, I don't know. C tier for old Curse of Darkness. C for first. Kid Drac on the Famicom, the bonus game from Castlemania 2020. You know, this game was okay, for the most part. At least that's how I remember it. I remember it being like fun, decent, cute enough. And then the last level suddenly turned into this gauntlet of pain with a very difficult final boss. Which really soured the experience. But I cannot say as I had hated it up until that point. From memory. There were some difficult parts. But I remember it being, for the most part, fine. Somewhat enjoyable. It just really soured me towards the end. But I'm also finding... I'm remembering flashes of level design. And... I can't remember a whole lot that happened with it. I only played it once. Well, but the Game Boy version was technically a recreation of it, sort of. But... How much Portrait Ruin in this playlist? I think it's fair to also, for the fourth game in a row, drop it in C tier. Castlemania 2020 was a C tier year. I think it's mostly worth playing, but at the end it does just get terrible. Vampire Killer. I had to do a 99 lives cheat to even get to the end of this. And that's already a strike against it. It needed continues. It needed to not require outside cheats. It needed to be... The last level needed to be a little bit more lenient. I think it had really good ideas, though. Like, I thought the structure was neat. It's a little bit esoteric when it comes to, like, the merchants and stuff. You know, I think, yeah, it was... This is pretty much how I felt when I played it live, too. I think it has cool ideas. I think it has... With a lot of polish, it could have been a lot better than it was. It's hard to call worst of the worst. If I had to be objective about it, it should be pretty low. But I think I'm going to, for just a little bit longer, continue the pattern and put it in C tier. It's a game I could see myself revisiting, if not beating. Let's just say that much. That's more than I can say for... Well... It's more than I can say for most of these down here, so like, there you go. It's just, I think C is perfect there for that. Haunted Castle. Now let's talk for a second. Castlevania 1, Haunted Castle, and Vampire Killer all have the same key art. So making these icons was a little bit annoying in that sense. And now I'm kind of wishing I didn't use the title screen Simon. Isn't that just basically the same as this, but whatever. Anyway, Haunted Castle. The game is relentless, it's bullshit. It doesn't even look that good. Like, it's detailed, but it's not, like... Okay, you know, it's fine. Music's alright. Yeah, fucking wedding suit Simon in the intro just changes into his barbarian gear to run off after Dracula. How petty can Dracula be? Let's just kidnap Simon's wife after the wedding. The fact that like you don't have continues unless you use like a modern version that fixes that. That sucks. Level design is a lot just... Level design's not just not even good. It was made to piss you off. So, Haunted Castle is definitely one of the worst games in the series. It's also one of the fastest games. It's the shortest games. So the pain doesn't last that long, which is why not sure if I would call it as bad as Circle of the Moon with my biases. But Haunted Castle is D tier. Shut up, Clux. Castlevania Chronicles. Yet another Castlevania 1, basically. This is... So, you know how much I like Castlevania 1. So I'm already, like, unfavorably comparing it to that. Simon's walk cycle was fucking weird. Soundtrack kicks ass. There's a lot of weird bullshit, stupid things in it. But there's also, like, some fun. Most of it's alright. It also has the first appearance of BDSM Simon, who's suddenly redheaded now. It's... I don't know how to, like, really put my thoughts into form here, especially because I've only played it once. I don't know. It has some things that are just hard for no reason. Then sometimes it'll copy Castlevania too closely. Except, oop, no, you didn't. You thought that was what. You thought that was something you knew about, and then just no. Actually, it's pain, and it's infinite Fleeman where there should be meat. I didn't jive with it. And C tier is getting pretty populated down here. I think C tier is the perfect one for it. Control ROM, I wouldn't go that strong on it, but C tier, you belong in there. Judgment. Do I need to say it? Judgment is one of the worst fighting games I've ever played. Imagine having a 3D arena fighter where you don't automatically face your opponent. Imagine being able to whiff. Imagine some of the most weird, stupid controls you ever played. Imagine just no character balance whatsoever. Imagine taking them all the characters and redesigning them to be unrecognizable. Yeah, but Mix is good. Like, if they made this game good, if they made a competent fighting game, I think Castlevania can work as a fighting game. Well, obviously as a spin-off. I think you have enough characters you can do that. Like, the concept wasn't the problem. I think it was the execution. No, fucking the boob thing. But those are sacred gifts! Shut the fuck up. Like... It can get really annoying really easily. Why is my scroll bar gone? D tier. Judgment is just not it. If I wasn't like trying to get at least like one look at the true ending for y'all, I would have dumped this game really early. And that's why Castlemania is about finishing the games if we can, because the only game we did not finish... That's not true. Save states or otherwise. We did finish the adventure, but we used save states. That was the second go-around. I'm pretty sure we did that anyway. It's not F tier because F tier... My hatred for the adventure is so strong it deserves its own tier. That's basically what all F tier is, really. And like Judgment, there are like some little things about this I kind of like, but they're very small. Like Eric is a dapper young lad who can really kick ass. He was the only character that was vaguely fun to play as. Maybe that's finding light in the darkness. I don't know. The Adventure ReBirth. They took this game and they made it not suck. Adventure ReBirth was a good game. Konami's short little Rebirth subseries. I still think it's fucking weird they chose to remake songs from other games into it instead of just remixing the original's music. Hey, there's no, Curse of the Moon is good stuff. When we do the Bloodstained tier list, it's going to be S, Curse of the Moon, Ritual Night, and then B, Curse of the Moon 2, something like that. More Order of Ecclesia. Pardon me. So they did like retain some of the ideas, remix them, so it's not a straight remake. Did it have Fireball Whip? I don't remember if it did. I don't think it did. It might have, but it might have been a rare power up. I don't think it had climbing ropes. It was very good. There were some frustrating parts, I remember, but they were mostly later on where it feels more appropriate to have frustrating elements. For the most part, it is a solid experience. In a way, I feel like it's not the most memorable, though. Because in a way, I kind of feel like it was taking ideas from other games instead of trying to establish its own identity, and that made sense. I think it's good. I think it looks good and plays good. I also think it's really funny that you start the game with free jump controls and you get to unlock classic style jumps, which, if anything, it feels like it should have been the other way around, but you know, it's cool. I think I'm going to give this one the B tier treatment. I think I could put this above Belmont's Revenge and Harmony of Dissonance. Maybe Belmont's Revenge. But below Dawn and Order of Ecclesia. But I definitely like it a lot more than anything that's in C tier, so I think B feels appropriate. Getting down to the wire here. Here's a weird one, Harmony of Despair. How do I quantify Harmony of Despair, the online arcadey multiplayer loot collecting action game, to all of these some form of action adventure game? I figured it fit in the playlist anyway. Playlist tier list. But where do I put it? I think I know where I'm going to put it already. But it's still just kind of funny to like compare it like this. I think it's the idea alone kicks ass. It is very fun when you have friends, even if it's hard. And that can make or break it. I've not played it all single player. I might have played like once or twice earlier on, just to try it out. And I feel like the single player definitely would not be anywhere near as fun. Obviously. The randomized drop nature, especially trying to get a good equipment, can be frustrating as well. It could be repetitive if you're grinding it. And I haven't played all the DLC courses. Chapter 10, the Castlevania 1 remake. It's hilarious how that's way harder than it has any right to be, but fair. But it's very fun to play with friends. I really enjoy it as its own thing. Well, you know, grinding your drops in regular Castlevania is a little bit different than grinding from an online game where you had to like load a round and go through the round and like kill an entire boss to get the trumps. But you know, holy shit, this was Order of Ecclesia. I'm telling you all, Order of Ecclesia is the best DS soundtrack and one of the best in this series. Like, holy shit. That's fair. But yeah, it's a weird game to try to compare to everything else. Based on my personal experiences. And how I've played it. A tier. It's not one I would like equally go on my way to be like, oh yeah, Castlevania Harmony of Despair, let's fucking go. But whenever I do play it, I have a blast. So A feels appropriate. But yes, I'm an atheist, you did kind of preempt that there. The final game. Look at this fucking dork. I used the American art because, like, otherwise the Japanese art would have been identical to the original. Kid Dracula on Game Boy? Fucking sucks. Like, if the Famicom one was decent up until the end, Kid Dracula Game Boy was just garbage. It's a very similar game. As far as like level design and shit. Although it's a remix, so it's not identical. But it's so similar that like it's like, why don't you try? He kind of does. The way it's cut off, he still has like kind of the spiky hair at the top, but the way it's cut off, it does sort of look like a fro. I had to crop it a little bit lower, otherwise his face was covered by the name. But I feel like the first level was probably fine, but after that, it was just frustration and pain from beginning to end, and it has its charming moments, but it's just a worse version of the Famicom game. Like, Order of Ecclesia again. Sorry, I lied. It's Castlevania 3. But what is this from? I don't even remember. One of the bonus modes? Anyway. I can't... In a vacuum, I could like rescue some little elements of charm from this. Because there were some like cute little moments in it. Like with minigames and stuff. But many of those exist in the Famicom one. And the Famicom one is an overall better game. Like, this has no reason to exist. The Game Boy is cursed. I'm adding its second F-tier entry. There's no reason to play Kid Dracula on the Game Boy. Especially now that we have access to the original via Anniversary Collection, but even that, I'm like, you don't really need to play that. And these are... Kid Dracula is a kind of an outlier because it's different in tone and style to the rest of the series anyway. But I mean, Harmony of Despair is here, so... What else can I really say? This company in prison. What are you in for? Fucking sucking! Well, you are a vampire. That about does it. Let's just go ahead and access tier. This would appear to be our tier list. Now here's the reevaluation period. Because, like I said, good reason. God damn it. If I were, let's see, if I were to order these, let's do that. Let's just say fuck it and order up Ecclesia. Order the tiers from best to worst in that tier. We'll start from the bottom. The Adventure is still the worst Castlemania game. This sucks, but there's more going for it than for the Adventure. D tier, I think Dracula X stays at the top of D tier, because it sucks, but it's also the shortest game. So what's Judgment if you quit early? I think I might just leave this alone. Because the other thing about Haunted Castle is it's the other thing. Like, it sucks, but it's short. But it just sucks way more than either of these. And like Circle of the Moon does have its dreaming points, but it's so long and grindy that, like, you know, it's... If I hate a game, if it's longer, I will hate it even more. Let's just put it that way. I made a game worse than Kid Dracula. And Judgment just has so much going wrong for it that, yeah, Judgment deserves to be here. As for C tier, this one feels trickier to me. Right off, we can at the very least put Curse of Darkness between these two. So that feels correct. Okay, here's the thing. I think conceptually I like Vampire Killer way more than Chronicles, but in practice, I don't know which one I like more. I think Simon's Quest, well, that one might get knocked out of the top spot. I think Legends, at least, can go here. Can it, though? No, I think I would rather enjoy Legends over Legacy of Darkness. As a whole, if it's just Henry mode, Legacy of Darkness would be up in B tier. No, at least be atop of C tier. Hey look, some Harmony of Dissonance music. I think I would at least put Kid Dracula above Lament of Innocence. Because it's more fun. Mostly. But its flaws are enough to keep it below Curse of Darkness. I think these two... You know, fuck it. Lament of Innocence is so boring I can go below these two. Conceptually, I like Vampire Killer more. Vampire Pillar. Chronicles, I think, is a better game. I'm gonna leave these, I think. I think this seems decent for C tier. B tier, get some rearrangement here. Order of Ecclesia is the best game in B tier. Fair enough. Dawn of Sorrow is better than Belmont's Revenge. This is where it gets tricky. ReBirth... I think ReBirth can go right in it. It's really these two where I'm like, well-crafted game up until the end versus consistently decent mid-game, but it's still mostly fun. And I think... it's very tough. Is this song over? What's going on? Oh, it's about to skip. Okay. We just had a very long period of silence. Yo, let's fucking go. Why is everything like opening and minimizing? Anyway. Yeah, I'm not sure. I feel like if you give me an average platformer and an average Metroidvania, I'm probably going to end up enjoying the Metroidvania more, just because that's what I like. Even though the point of B tier is that they're above average? I think I'll leave it. Because if nothing else, Belmont's Revenge is a testament on how much better the adventure could have been. I think this B tier is looking pretty solid. A tier, let's go ahead and talk about that thing earlier about how, come on, Portrait of Ruin is the best thing in the A tier, and it's just barely out of the S tier for me. And that's a hard thing, it is a hard thing to quantify average Metroidvania enjoyer. Because there admittedly are parts of Portrait of Ruin where I'm kind of like whatever, but it is still a very good game. It is the best game that's not in S tier. And Harmony of Despair... like I said, how did I fucking rank this against the other Castlevania games? I'll leave it at the bottom of A tier. Mostly because I think I do like these three better as games, and this is more of like a fun experience. So yeah, I'll just leave Harmony of Despair there. It's more or less just kind of like... I might not rearrange this. I'm thinking. I'm not thinking anymore. Maria mode makes Rondo more fun than Castlevania IV. That's my stance. If it were just Richter, no, this would be higher. But they're both games that excel at details and atmosphere. But Rondo does have more going for it overall. Like Maria mode. Maria mode is fucking fantastic. But not as A tier looks about right. The S tier, I don't even need to think about this. There you go. Soten is the best game in the franchise. I already said that. It is so fucking good. Aria of Sorrow is also one of the best games in the franchise. It is so fucking good. Bloodlines is my favorite Classicvania. So that stands to reason that the Castlevania 1 would be lower. But they're both really fucking good. Like, Soten has just so much stuff. So many items and equipment. It's just so fun to play. Aria of Sorrow, pretty close. Not quite the same level, but pretty close. It's shorter, but that is also helpful in its favor because it makes the pacing better. And the soul system is really fucking cool. Bloodlines, I'll say it again, the pacing. Ditto for CP1, but the atmosphere is cool. The music is great. The gameplay, it's fast for that style of Castlevania. It's energetic. And obviously Castlevania 1 is the standard. And again, the only reason it's up here in S tier and not with the Castlevania 1 but better down here is because of the pacing. Like, it's just tightly designed and it's done. It's just done so very well. And I did not make this shareable because, like, I was looking at, like, the thing where it's, create a new tier maker, and, like, you know, if you think a lot of people are going to use it, then the moderator will approve it or whatever. Like, I saw that part, I'm like, I don't know if a moderator is going to approve my random tier list of games that a small group of people have watched me play over the years. So I just made it a single-use tier maker. I wanted to make it a shareable one, but I was like, yeah, I should not risk it. Sadly, but I could upload. These are so small. I could just upload all these thumbnails and then just put on my Discord and pin it and be like, if anybody wants to try their hand at this, here's the link to the single-use tier list, and here's all my icons I made. Have at it. We already had this song. No. We do not want the Harmony of Dissonance version of Vampire Killer. Yeah, this is a good one. This is a good one to go out on. That is fair. Yeah, the more I look at this, the more I think, yeah, this feels like a more complete, incompetent tier list. My only hang-up is I might be reconsidering the original Dracula's position. I'm not sure if I am. It's more so, do I really think this was a better game than these two? And again, like, objectively, Chronicles should be above Vampire Killer. But it's just that I think Vampire Killer was more interesting conceptually than Chronicles. I think this is done. And I'm stalling because I don't want Castlemania to be over, because that's literally it. Once this is done, it's done. Just give me like another second to think about Kid Dracula. Yeah, I think I'm gonna go put it here. I think that feels more fair. That's it. Oh yeah, that, but that's not happening on Twitch. Yeah. Fucking do it. So again, if you would like to try your hand at this, I will put my icons in a zip into Discord. I think I should just go ahead and just do this command. Pretty sure that link still works. And I will pin it with a link to this to be like, try your hand, and here's mine. I don't want Castlemania to be over. I never do. And I got stuff to look forward to. Like, Way of the Hero, resuming that, like, the next game in that series is a game I like. The game, and then there's Twilight Princess after that. I'm planning to stream Mario RPG Remake when it comes out. I ordered a 64 controller, the Switch one, because I finally was able to afford one when they were in stock, and so I can do my my various little sets of, like, you know, just to make a physical example, like right here, like my SNES nostalgia streams, where I just go through all the little game libraries and place things that I played as a youth and just chat about them for a little bit. And now include the 64 stuff, and a lot of things I'm looking forward to playing. The Castlemania's just been around since this is the 6th Castlemania, 5 years after the original Castlemania, and it always feels weird to say it out loud. Like, you know, 2018 was the original, then 2019, and 2020, 2021, the reimagined last year, and best of. It's been 5 years since the original. We've done 6 Castlemanias. Math is weird, but but there will always be Castlemania, even if I will figure out what I needed to figure out. Don't mind me unplugging my controller. And I know what I'm planning for the next 2 years, possibly the next 3 years, if I consider an idea that I should have considered from the start. Next year is going to be Lords of Shadow. Finally get that over with. I don't like those games. I beat 1 and Mirror of Fate, but not 2. So, he says he is the lord of this castle. The year after that is going to be like a bunch of different... This might be a thing where I might have to do overtime, depending on what games I get for it. But next year's, but not next year. Year after is going to be games inspired by Castlevania, mostly indie games. Then Bloodstained, which is, you know, the success of the Castlemania, obviously. And then the year after was going to be open, but then I was like, you know, people have talked about it. I should do a year of fan games and hacks. And after that, well, I'll figure it out. I can say this much: I will never do Lords of Shadow again after next year. And I had considered the rebooting it all and then starting from the beginning again, but I don't want to do that. But I mean, I feel like at some point I would have to, in a sense of, well, maybe I just want to play these games again. Which, you know, that's valid. And there is some part of me that's like, maybe I should play... Maybe I should do the fan game year before the Inspired by year, but no, I kind of want to do... I've put off the stuff enough already, like... Had the original plan gone through... Let me think about this real quick. If the original plan had gone through, I would have done Lords of Shadow last year already. But I wasn't able to get the equipment I wanted in 2021, which birthed the alternate character mode year. That would have been last year's Castlemania Reimagined. So, if I had done that in 2021, Lords of Shadow would have been done last year, and this would have been the games inspired by Castlevania year. Instead, we got pushed back because, one, I had to make up alternate character year to fill in space, and then after Reimagined was over, it's like, you know, I really like Castlevania, and I don't want to play Lords of Shadow yet, so I'm doing Best of Castlevania to celebrate before I move on to games I don't like. So that's how that happened. So, Lords of Shadow is going to show up 2 years late to his own funeral. And then we'll move on from there. Like, as long as I'm alive and able to stream, I will not stop doing Castlemania every year. It's one of my favorite things to do on this channel. And thank you all for hanging out, especially with this goofy little tier maker session, but as much as I don't want to, I've got to bring it to a close. So next year, look forward to the Lords of Shadow games on Castlemania. I will figure out a name for next year's. I don't want to go back to just calling it Castlemania 2024. Not just because I've had 2 years in a row where I wasn't using years as the signifier, but mostly because it's so different that, like, I don't want to, like, include it as part of that. Same said. I've read that as it's a chilly time. Love you too, Lift. I'm probably not going to call it that. I want to go back to Castlemania name because I like that. It flows better than Best of Castlemania, but I called it Best of Castlemania because, well, it fit this year, and it sounded better than Castlemania the Best of, or Castlemania Best of the Best, or whatever. I probably wouldn't use Shadow just because that redundancy. But anyway, yeah, I'll figure it out later. I'm gonna call it here. Thank you all again so much for hanging out. Yet another Castlemania. It was great. It was great as always, as it always is. I will see you for Castlemania next year, and I will see you for Way of the Hero returning soon. I'm gonna say no stream tomorrow because of there is a prior obligation, but otherwise, again, Way of the Hero will be returning. No longer Way of the Hiatus. And yeah, as always, have a good one. Thank you all for watching. Happy Halloween. See you next time.